My name is Azat Mashari. I'm an anesthesiologist and I work at Toronto General Hospital. So I had considered medicine as a possible career when I was probably in middle school, but I was considering a lot of other things as well. When I finished high school, I went to an arts high school, so I'd done a lot of visual arts over the years, and I was interested in something that had sort of a hands-on practical component. At the same time, I was also very interested in obviously sciences, and I considered architecture, economics, and medicine, and went through the medical school application process. It took me a few attempts to get in. Just before I got in, actually, was planning on doing economics, and I got in unexpectedly last minute, and took me a while to decide whether or not I should do it, but I ended up going to University of Western Ontario for medical school. And in terms of becoming an anesthesiologist, so what area to specialize in, again, that was a pretty last minute decision. I was considering doing primary care, surgery, or psychiatry. And over time, with just experience of what the different areas were like and doing some observerships and a mentorship from more senior physicians, I ended up picking anesthesiology. And what attracted me to that was this combination of both very sort of theoretical physiology, but also very hands-on care of patients. The big downside of it is you don't get to speak to a lot of your patients, and you don't have a lot of interpersonal connection with your patients a lot of the time. But the interactions you do have are brief, but very intense, because patients are often very anxious, they're very worried. It's a major point in their life when they're having surgery. So the interaction can be very valuable, but you don't get to follow a patient and their family long-term the way you would as a family physician, for example. And so I went to an anesthesia residency at the University of Toronto, and then did a fellowship at Toronto General Hospital specifically for heart surgery. And that's where I got a job, and that's where I work now. I think the biggest challenge was actually really understanding my own dreams and what it was that I was trying to achieve through those dreams. Because even though I had to obviously give up a lot of things if you look at my dreams as an undergraduate student, when I was starting university, I've had to give up a lot of the things that I had dreamed of at that point. But in a different way, I've actually managed to satisfy all the needs that those dreams were meant to satisfy. And I have my family now. I'm still involved in creative activities. I'm not a professional artist, but I've also found ways to incorporate a lot of my interest in arts and creativity into my research work and my teaching that is also part of doing academic medicine. You want to make sure that your basic financial needs are met, and you have to have a good understanding of what those basic needs are. At the same time, the interesting thing about money is there's a certain amount of it that you need to kind of be able to function. And then beyond that, incremental increases do not necessarily add to your happiness unless they're being put to very wise use. And there's a sense especially in jobs that pay quite well, that you kind of get sucked into this idea of trying to, after years of being in debt and being a student, finally having some financial independence, and you want to quickly build a solid base and buy a house and start a family and start saving for retirement, etc., which are all very wise things to do, and I strongly advise you to take those things very seriously. But I think a huge part of it is also keeping track of your needs and not letting all these sort of artificial desires become manifested as needs to you. So, we talk about I need this and I need that, and most of the time, if you actually look at what you mean by those things, we actually mean that I want this and I want that, but I don't really need it. And if you can actually, at the same time as you're trying to work more and save more and become financially independent, if you can also control how much you're spending on things that are maybe not that important to your long-term happiness, then that's going to help you have a much more solid financial grounding in the long term.